what I found interesting was when you brought up how the way we look at history. So we only look at history in the context of North America and English and British people coming over. But you talk about how in South America they have a different set of history timelines. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's it's actually kind of sad. The whole story of the Americas is sad. I'll try to keep it a little
Yeah.
upbeat though. Um, of course, you live in North America. I live in North America. When I went to college, when I went to high school in Pennsylvania and elementary school in Pennsylvania, and history started in 1492.
Mm-hmm.
That's what was in our history books. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't learn anything about South America when I was in school. Nothing. We didn't learn anything about the Indians. The only thing we learned is that Columbus got here. There was almost nobody here. America was wide open. There was, lots of trees and forests and animals and natural resources that could be exploited and all that. But everybody got the idea there was nobody here. So we know now the lowest number that anybody gives for the population at the time of Columbus's discovery was 57 million. Now, almost nobody believes that there were 57 million people here now. All of the experts say there were at least 150 million people.
Wow.
And all the explorers that came in found vast fields of corn, squash, beans. They found city after city, town after town. I mean, it was densely populated. There were people all over. Now, most of us are only familiar with American history. We'll go back to that. And we never learned much about what went on in South America or Central America. We all know, we've heard of Pizarro and we've heard of Mexico, how Cortez went into Mexico City and destroyed it. Which was then Tenochtitlan. Mm-hmm. And there were some pyramids down there, but almost nobody up here realizes how vast it was. But beyond that, all of our textbooks, all the textbooks that I had in anthropology, and I took two courses, one in anthropology, one in archaeology in college at what was then Memphis State University. It's now the University of Memphis. I hate it when they change the name of your school, by the way.
Yeah.
People ask me all the time, where did Memphis State go? And I said,
Right.
well, it's in the exact same place. It's now got a sign that says University of Memphis. But anyway, we're not told anything about South America. Well, if you get South American textbooks, and if you can get translations, or if you yourself can read Spanish textbooks and Spanish professional journals in archaeology, you will see that there has been a battle that's been going on for decades. North American archaeologists have ignored the research that has gone on by South American archaeologists for many, many reasons. The reason that they say is that it's endemic, that it's a type of racism, it's a type of cultural bias, and it's also sexism. The majority of the South American archaeologists that have done an incredible amount of work there are female. They're Hispanic, and almost all of them went to universities in South America, or they went to universities in Spain. Mm-hmm. And North American archaeologists look down upon it. They simply degrade them, and they simply say they're not very scientific. We don't believe their findings. For example, from the 80s, I didn't realize this when I was actually getting involved in things in the 80s, but since the 1980s, there has been a large group of South American archaeologists led by female PhDs who have claimed that there are areas in Brazil that have cave art that goes back a minimum of 50,000 years.
Yeah, you mentioned that in the book.
There are dozens of sites in South America that go back to 50,000 years and 30,000 years that even predates any cave art in Europe. There's nothing in Europe that's even as old as that. There is a site about 50 miles south of Mexico City that the U.S. Geological Survey did the research on. It was dated to 300,000 years ago.
Wow.
Now, North American archaeologists, you can look all this up in the textbooks, and they'll simply say that it can't be, therefore it isn't. They say there are no timelines, there were no humans who could have possibly made this site, therefore something is wrong. Either the archaeologists doing the work were incompetent and somehow misinterpreted, they misinterpreted what they dug up, or they did the research wrong, or the final thing they always pull out, well, it's a hoax. Someone
Hmm.
planted all this and it's a hoax. But there are dozens of sites in South America that go back to 50,000 years or more. Now, the really the last piece of this is that they say North American archaeologists claim that anybody who came to the Americas in prehistoric times had to come across what is known as Beringia, which is the landmass that was exposed between Siberia, Asia, and Alaska at the end, toward the end of the last ice age. Sea levels were lower. There was ice up there, but an ice corridor opened up, and all those people came over. That's where Clovis first really began too. And the idea was up until 1997 that all of the people that came into the Americas came over in a couple of waves, massive waves of people, Siberian nomads who came into North America, then spread everywhere and raced down to Tierra del Fuego, which is the southern tip of South America, by roughly 8,000 BC or so. So in 2,000 years, in a 2,000-year span, they populated all of the Americas. That was the idea up till 1997. But even after North American archaeologists said, okay, that's not correct. We know there were people here before, but they all came across from Siberia into North America, because the idea of we were first is a prize.
Hmm.
Now, it's like North American archaeologists can hold it up as like a prize and say, we win. We were first. Now, I didn't come up with that. That is in the South American textbooks and journal articles they've written. And they say they want North American archaeologists cling to that like it's a prize of some kind, being first. So they say even if they sailed along the coastline and they might have touched California, there's a site in California that last year was dated to 133,000 BC.
Is that
That's a
the
long.
San Diego one or
It's
near?
near San
Yeah,
Diego. Yes,
yeah.
all of these sites are very close to San Diego. The ones out there, even there were sites found in San Diego. Luis Alvarez was one, and they found a number of sites out there, all of which were dismissed by mainstream archaeology. Now, whether or not those sites are really there or not, or whether they actually exist and they are human made, I don't know that. I know the ones in South America are, and I know South America is more important for other reasons, and that gets into the mounds. South America had mound, the oldest mound there was built in 8,400 BC, 10,400 years ago. So
Wow.
the first mound in South America is more than 10,000 years old. The first mound in North America dates to 4,000 BC. And
Right.
that is a small mound it's called Monte Sano in southern Louisiana. It's actually near Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It doesn't
Hmm.
exist anymore, but that was it.
And you mentioned
Also,
what
yeah,
8,400-year-old one in Bolivia, and then an eight
yeah,
thousand
that's,
year old
yeah.
one in Brazil, I believe.
Yeah, there are several of them there. Bolivia has the oldest one known right now. It's in the Bolivian highlands, which is also in the Amazon basin.
Hmm.
So that's the oldest that we know of right now. And that predates anything in Egypt, of course. There's nothing in Egypt that dates that far back.
Right.
That's incredible if you think about it.